You're at a climate change today, and this is Matt Matern. I'm your host, and I've got Rex Parris, Mayor Rex Parris of Lancaster with us today. Mayor has created the first net zero city on the planet. What's kind of amazing to me is that as a Republican, he's come up with a very pro-environmental program, which I can think marries both profits to green. So we're talking green profits. And we've got to marry the dynamism of the market and the creativity of scientists who are working on green solutions to our environmental problems. So welcome here, and it's great to talk to you again about the incredible work that you've done up here in Lancaster.
Thank you. Thank you. I always correct people that this, the last couple of years, it's not climate change. It's climate extinction. Let's call it what it is, And when you look at it as to what it really is, it's absolutely a Republican position. I mean, what are we about? We're about protecting hardworking families. We're about public safety. If we don't do a lot, there isn't going to be a need for public safety because we will be extinct. Now, I'm not going to see that, but my grandchildren are absolutely going to see it with the current projections.
Yeah, it is horrifying, the thought of what can and will happen. I mean, we're already seeing the front end of it with temperatures rising to record levels, like 19 of the last 20 years, the hottest years ever recorded. And we're seeing just incredible storms, all these different things we're seeing across the planet. Obviously, we need to do things, and as you said, conservatism means conservation. And of course, the great conservation movement started under Republican presidents. Abraham Lincoln saw pictures of the amazing sequoia trees out here in California and said, hey, we need to protect these. Mm-hmm. And Yellowstone, I believe, was started under President Grant, the first national park, and then Theodore Roosevelt just expanded upon that. So,
Nixon,
EPA.
The EPA. Every major environmental act came from a Republican administration. Now, have they lost their way? Well, yeah, they've lost their way in many ways. Do I think they will come back? I do. I just got back from DC. I was meeting with the speaker. It's a difficult time. It's tumultuous, but there's still some people in the party who read,
Yeah. Well, that's heartening to hear that you're talking to the speaker, and hopefully have his ear, and he's not too far from here, his district, and should be able to see the great work that you've been doing. What does he say to the work that you're doing here in Lancaster?
Well, he's on many occasions announced I was the most innovative mayor in America, which I appreciate. But he's in a very difficult spot. I mean, he's having to hold a lot of factions together, and unfortunately, the Republican Party is funded by oil. I mean, so he doesn't say a lot about my environmental efforts, which I understand. When I first started down this path, I was scorned. I mean, laughed at by every Republican I knew. And they're not laughing like they used to. But the younger people in the party, they're not stupid. You don't have to look very far. The evidence is just so overwhelming that you have to be an idiot not to see it.
Well, that's kind of my feeling as well. I mean, I was kind of a soft environmentalist going back to the 80s, early 90s. I was supportive of George H.W. Bush when he said he was going to be the environmental president. And I thought, hey, that's the Republican Party that I kind of joined up with. And then as the party progressed into the 2000s, particularly under Dick Cheney and George W. Bush, we're even more beholden to oil than ever before. Which was a mistake in policy and very short term. It was a myopic policy. Let's get out in front of this and seize the business opportunities that are going to be there for us leading the world in green technology.
And who should be doing it is the oil industry. I mean, who is best capable of putting a windmill out in the ocean? The people that have been putting these oil rigs out there for 50 years, they know more about building in the middle of the ocean than anyone. Although, interestingly enough, they are slowly coming in this direction. Southern California Gas recently approached us about Lancaster being the first city that bleeds in hydrogen into the natural gas that the consumer uses. Be about 20% mixture. That will make the natural gas a lot safer. It'll burn cleaner. And we reached the break point. You know, right now everybody's thinking of hydrogen for automobiles, which they should, but that's a long ways down the road because we don't have the infrastructure for it. You know, you got to fuel those cars. Every gas station needs to be a hydrogen fueling station in order to service them. Right? That's just a reality that's going to take a long time to get to. But right now, hydrogen at current prices, I mean, we just signed a long-term contract with Heliogen at $10 a kilogram. That's cheaper than natural gas now, you know, when you do the comparison. We can put fuel cells that'll cover the whole neighborhood and have one central place that we look, you know, you can truck it in and you fill the tank. That's today, and it would be cheaper than what people are paying for natural gas. Could we stop climate extinction? The last couple of years is the first time we've had the technology to do it. And that technology is going to be nuclear, and it's going to be hydrogen. The battery EV cars are a stopgap, you know, just a bridge. Because ultimately, you got to find the lithium, build those batteries without, you know, the environmental footprint that causes. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. The Earth is going to be fine. We're just not going to be on it. Now, could there be pockets of humanity left? Maybe. But we're talking about billions of people dying within the lifespan of my grandchildren. It's not, I mean, it is upon us.
Right. We have to take bold steps. It's no longer the time for fiddling around on the edges. I talked to somebody just the other day, and they were proposing that we set aside 50% of the planet for going back to essentially like parks, nature parks, where nobody can intrude and mess around with the environment, and that would create enough habitat where we could save enough species where we can survive in a meaningful way.
Except we're never going to do that. You know, the problem with the left is their solutions are not realistic. You know, they're not going to happen. I look at the world as a realist. What can we legitimately expect to accomplish? Now, do they have a valid concern? Absolutely. When was the last time you pulled into a gas station to clean your windshield because it was covered with bugs? Most of the people working in this office do not remember a time where that occurred. When I grew up here, every time you went into a gas station, you had to clean your windshield because you couldn't see with all the bugs. You know? The insect population is collapsing. Birds are starving. You know, all of the signs are there, and they're frightening signs.
Well, tell us a little bit about the initiatives that you've taken here in Lancaster. I know you've got, I believe, 3 different hydrogen facilities that you've started, one taking paper and turning it into hydrogen, one waste, and then one maybe solar. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
One way to do it is to just do solar panels and electrolysis. You know, you take the electricity off the solar panels and you use the electrolysis to crack the hydrogen out of the water vapor. We have another one that uses thermal heat from the sun to do the same thing. That's the one we just signed the contract with for $10 a kilogram. Now, a year ago, the best you could get was 20. They've already cut the price in half, right? We're making incredible inroads. Element has come in and they've bought half the east side. They're going to cover it with solar panels to make hydrogen and ammonia. We will be producing more hydrogen in the city of Lancaster than anywhere in the country within a year, maybe a year and a half. We're already cutting deals with LA. We're talking about cutting deals that we will supply them with the hydrogen. I thought what would really happen when I set out to become the net zero city is that I'd last maybe 2-3 terms, and they'd lower the hammer on me because I thought it was going to cost too much. We've made nothing but money. We provide electricity to our citizens cheaper than Southern California Edison could. Now, they've even passed legislation to cut into how cheap we can provide it. But think about it. I mean, it doesn't take rocket science. Well, maybe it does take rocket science, but it doesn't. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand it, right? That it has to be cheaper once you build the platform for it to take free energy from the sun rather than drill 20,000 feet into the earth to get it.